Harrison, Arkansas, the gateway to the Buffalo National River and a community moving forward from the past into an amazing future. Tucked away in the middle of Arkansas's Ozark Mountains, Harrison boasts not only a beautiful city with a forward vision, but also colorful artwork, and it's the gateway to the amazing Buffalo National River. And speaking of the Buffalo National River, make sure to watch all the way to the end because not far from Harrison is the beautiful Lost Valley Trail, and we're going to hike it. Harrison is the county seat of Boone County and has a population of over 13,000 people. As with small communities across the country, they remember their heroes. Jack Williams was awarded the Congressional Medal of Honor for his heroic saving of his comrades during World War II's Battle of Iwo Jima. Harrison also has a vibrant downtown with tea rooms, restaurants, and all kinds of shopping. Harrison is also the home to the Brandon Burlsworth Foundation. Brandon played for the Arkansas Razorbacks and is only one of two players to have their number retired. Brandon was drafted by the Indianapolis Colts, but on April 28, 1999, he was tragically killed as he was on his way back from the university to go to church with his mother. Brandon's family founded the Brandon Burlsworth Foundation to help underprivileged children get eyeglasses. Thus far, they've helped over 10,000 children. To learn more about Brandon's life, you can watch the movie Greater. In a sad chapter of the city's history, in the early morning darkness of May 7, 1961, the Crooked Creek flooded and overflowed its banks. Water up to 12 feet deep filled the downtown. You can see how the downtown was basically on the same level as the banks of the Crooked Creek, so when it flooded, disaster happened. 4 residents were killed and property damage exceeded $5 million, or when adjusted for inflation, almost $52 million in today's money. The entire downtown area was covered in 8 to 12 feet of water. You can see in the present-day Visitors Center that small gold plaque marks the 9 feet of water which flooded that particular building. After the flood, a levee was built along the Crooked Creek to protect the city. Commemorated on the grounds of the Boone County Courthouse is the Meadows Massacre. In 1857, 140 men, women, and children set off for California from about 4 miles south of Harrison. As the journey progressed, they camped at Mountain Meadows in Utah in early September, and they were attacked by Indians that had been directed to do so by a local Mormon leader. The Arkansans circled the wagons and fought valiantly until they ran out of ammunition. Under a flag of truce, they were approached by Mormons and promised protection if they would surrender. However, when they surrendered, everyone except 17 small children were massacred. In 1859, the children were rescued by the army and taken back to Arkansas, and the Mormon bishop, John D. Lee, was tried, found guilty, and executed in 1877. And while you're in Harrison, you've got to stop by Harold's Super Service. They offer something you don't see very often anymore, a full-service gas lane. Remember the ringing bell when you drove over those black tubes? Well, they still ring here. Oh, and there's a mechanic on duty whenever the service station is open. Harrison also has a long-standing mystery. The old jail was built in 1914 and served as the jail and sheriff's residence until 1976. Prior to its construction, this was the site of the last legal hanging in Harrison. The year was 1912, and Otis Davidson was accused of murdering 18-year-old Ella Barham. According to testimony, he was sweet on her. In a rather hasty trial in the current courthouse, Davidson was found guilty and sentenced to hang. After appeals and persistent claims of innocence, on August 11, 1913, Otis Davidson was hung for the murder of Ella Barham. However, the mystery doesn't stop there. Several decades later, Davidson's cousin actually confessed to Ella's murder on his deathbed, so the question lingers on. Otis Davidson was buried in Maplewood Cemetery. After an incredible day of sightseeing and history, it was time to hit the sack. I stayed at one of the real gems of Harrison, Arkansas, and that is the 1929 Hotel Seville. In the 1930s, it was the place to be seen. Its new owners have restored the hotel to its original grandeur, and they've added a new restaurant called Two Ravens at the Seville. Enjoy the Spanish motif as you check in or relax on the second floor reading area. The rooms are clean and comfortable. I really enjoyed my stay. The next morning we got up and we headed out to hike the Buffalo National River's Lost Valley Trail. But you know what? When you're driving in Arkansas's Ozark Mountains, even the natural beauty along the road is absolutely amazing. If travel in Arkansas is new to you, you'll see a lot of these kind of signs. Also, while driving, make sure you take in the beautiful scenic overlooks. They'll have special parking places so you can safely pull over and enjoy the gorgeous view. Oh, and Tiffany, we're glad you were here, but remember, as you travel, don't be that person who defaces the natural beauty of Arkansas. Welcome to the Buffalo National River's Lost Valley Trail. This is one of those hikes where you almost see more than you can take in. About 35 miles down Highway 43 out of Harrison is Lost Valley Trail. It's a beautiful trail, it's an easy hike, and I've heard it described as Arkansas's Hall of Fame, and that there's a little bit of everything that Arkansas has to offer on this trail. Let's find out. As you start out your hike, you cross a dry riverbed. That's Clark Creek. Now, the reason the creek's dry is because most of the year, Clark Creek runs underground. Okay, I kind of lied a moment ago. The first part of the trail is really easy, but once you get past the natural bridge, things start to get a little steeper, and I would say it becomes a moderate hike from there. Now, I've got to guess this is what they call the Jigsaw blocks. After all, it wasn't marked, and these are the only rocks I saw that looked like a jigsaw puzzle. It definitely resembles a puzzle, doesn't it? Leave a comment below if you know whether these are the jigsaw blocks or not. According to geologists, these huge limestone boulders fell from the cliffs above after erosion, lichens, and cracks allowed water to seep into the stone and weaken them. Over millions of years, they came to rest in the riverbed. Next along the trail, you find the natural bridge. The water falling out of the natural bridge is part of Clark Creek, and shortly after it leaves the natural bridge, it heads, as we said earlier, underground. As you leave the natural bridge, the trail starts to get a little bit steeper, but the rock formations and the bluffs get even more beautiful, so hopefully that offsets the steeper trails. Next, you encounter the incredible Cob Cave. It's called Cob Cave because when archaeologists started excavating the site in the early 1900s, they found cobs of corn revealing early indigenous people lived here. It's hard to understand how huge this cave is without somebody standing in the background to give some perspective, but since I was by myself, I crawled up to the highest point in the back of the cave and took this shot looking out so you could at least get some perspective on the depth and height of the cave. Right next to Cob Cave is Eden Falls. Unfortunately, it hadn't been raining enough to get the falls really rocking and rolling. Just as I got done shooting Eden Falls, the sky started to turn dark and the weather began to change. So I didn't make it to Eden Falls Cave. That'll have to be for the next trip. I'm kind of booking it back to the car because as you can hear, it's thundering and you don't want to get caught in the rain out here. As I said at the beginning, the Lost Valley Trail offers all the beauty Arkansas's Ozarks have to offer, so it's hard not to stop and take pictures or videos even if you're being chased by a thunderstorm. Well, I made it back, only a little bit wet. I made it all the way through to Cob Cave and Eden Falls. I wish I could have made it on to Eden Falls Cave, but with the weather and it getting a little bit dusky out, I didn't want to risk taking the trail back in the dark or in the wet. The storm clouds rolled in. I was really glad I came to Harrison, Arkansas, the gateway to the beautiful Buffalo National River, and I loved hiking the Lost Valley Trail. It was amazing.